I want to say a happy new year and all the best to him and his family. We're talking about former Commissioner of Police and political leader of the NTA, Mr. Gary Griffith. Welcome and happy new year, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Same to you and to your many listeners.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. As we speak, Mr. Griffith, we're looking at about 5 or 6 murders for 2024 already. And of course, in the news, the Commissioner of Police takes credit for 5% drop in murders. Police Commissioner Earl Christopher is crediting a small but noteworthy decrease in murders in 2023 to painstaking police investigations, among other measures. Now, there were 29 fewer murders in 2023 than in 2022, accounting for almost a 5% drop in the murder toll. Now, it sounds good on paper. Let's get to the meat of this. But as citizens, we certainly don't feel any safer. There's this serious bout of anxiety that many of us are feeling going into this new year. And I think rightfully so. We can say, listen, what can we expect? And based on your expertise and observation, where are we at right now?
Well, where we are really and truly, it shows again the hierarchy of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I wish when I was commissioner, I should have spent more time getting senior officers to go further than down the islands of Tobago, for them to get international exposure to understand 21st century policing. When you hear comments like that, it is reminiscent to when, remember, the decrease in the increase in crime. The number of senior persons involved in law enforcement that internationally they have contacted me and they're laughing their heads off. They said, really and truly, this way you all have reached. By speaking about it being 599 or 600 odd murders last year before, and this time it's about 20 odd, so there's been a decrease in the increase, so we are doing well. That is not the way to go. Having said that, let me first clarify something. Had the murders increased from 605 last year or to 613, Earl Christopher would have been getting jammed much more than she is now. So let us understand in perspective that had there been an increase, there would have been sharp enough knives for her. Not to say that there is not this time, but the one thing is there has not been an increase. But that is the only positive that we can see, that it did not get worse. The fact of the matter is, for her to make the comment to allude to the fact that this is a step in the right direction, it is good news. It is similar to if Terry Fenwick was in charge of the national football team and we lost 7-0 to USA, which we did. And then Angus Eve took over and we lost 6-0 to the USA. If Angus Eve came to the public and said, well, listen, Terry Fenwick just a couple of years ago, we lost 7-0. This time we really lost 6-0, so we're doing much better. They would have been calls for his head. So, and I'm using it from a sporting perspective. It is no different. So losing 11-0 and then say, well, okay, we only lost 9-0 or 10-0 this time, so we're improving. No, it is a disaster because the last 2 years have been the highest number of murders in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So because we reached such a disastrous situation in 2022, you can't just continue to there must be saturation point, and then people will speak about at least 50 odd I can't recall the numbers of missing persons. Then we have to look at the number of persons who are actually injured or wounded. If it is that the number of woundings is much more than the number the year before, it will then mean that it wasn't that there was a reduction per se in the deliberate attempt to want to kill people, but they're just in the accuracy of the individuals. So we can be very technical about the whole thing. What Earl Christopher must say is, listen, we are far from getting there. We have failed again. It is not to blame the police or blame Earl Christopher, but we need to find different systems or else we will get the similar results. To come and state that there's been a decrease in the increase in crime and it is in the right direction, I think it is very obvious that it shows the importance of our senior police officers getting international exposure to understand the important thing. Whether it is that Earl Christopher got the murder rate, it went up to 650 or it went down to 400. The fear and perception of crime is more critical than the crime numbers itself. In New York City in the mid-90s, Mayor Giuliani and Bill Bratton and then Bernard Carrick, the commissioners, they were able to drastically reduce murders by 57% and violent crime by over 50%. The citizens in New York City did not feel safe. It meant nothing to them. In the eyes of the mayor of New York's office and the NYPD, One Police Plaza, they were failing. it had they didn't jump up and say, well, there's a 57% decrease in murder, so we have no. The New York citizens did not feel safe. They still saw the NYPD officers as pigs. They still felt that their lives were at risk. So they had to do a whole massive transformation of the NYPD, customer service and so forth, and start showing systems to get people to believe that I can walk the streets of New York, whether it is Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Long Island, wherever it is, that I will feel safe. And that is what is important. The perception and fear of crime in Trinidad and Tobago is the highest in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. The perception and fear of crime is higher now than it was year before, when the murder rate was actually higher, and that is the concern.
And I agree with you, Mr. Griffith, because the Prime Minister has weighed in on this, and he says basically that the brazenness of criminal elements was rooted in the belief that they will not be apprehended, and even if they are held, they have nothing to fear from the judicial system. He says we plan and execute strategies to prevent these truths from prevailing, and that they are wrong on both counts. Statistically, the results are not satisfactory, but we as a country remain focused on getting better results at every turn. And he added that in keeping with this aim, he noted that the National Security Council would meet fairly, regularly, and take certain decisions to treat with crime. Now, this cannot be the narrative about trial and error. This can't be. This is not about give us time, and give us space and be patient, and we will get it right one day. It can't be. I mean, at the end of the day, these figures make up the lives of citizens, family members, loved ones, people in our communities, people in our country. So this is not about just give us time, be patient. One day we will get it right. We have run out of time. I mean, when you start to look at all the ridiculous things that are taking place, you ask yourself if some of these reports are even animated. Is this some kind of cartoon version? A woman is robbed while exercising in her yard. A man is held at gunpoint and his brush cutter and lawnmower is taken away. Senior citizens are soft targets. People believe, and according to the Prime Minister, they don't have to face any consequences of jumping your wall, coming through your gate, coming through your window, and hurting you and your family. So we don't have time. Time is against us. And it seems that no one is being held accountable. Mind you, the Minister of National Security says that he foresees a safer 2024. He says more training for officers, better technology, improvement in the laws, improvement in the techniques, and of course, the control deliveries bill. And that bill, of course, will protect the actions of undercover officers who will have to go undercover and do certain things, but are protected by the law for what they are doing. Now, that in itself draws very, very scary as far as the law goes. Where are we going with all of this?
Well, where we're going is nowhere fast. You spend 8 years in government. You criticize the then government when you were in opposition, stating that the responsibility lies with you as a government, because the catalyst for crime reduction is the implementation of government policies. It is there. I try my best not to be political, but the data is there. From 1991 to 1995, crime went up every year. PNM, they were in government. 95 to 2001, almost every year it went down. The PNM was not in government. 2001 to 2010, it goes up every single year. Guess who was in government? 2010 to 2015, it goes down every year. PNM is not in government. 2015 to 2023, gradually going up every year, except for my last 18 months when I was Commissioner of Police, when there was a massive transformation of the police service. So it shows the importance. So Keith Rowley is talking the right talk, but he is unable, even with the National Security Council, if he'll do some degree of research, he can go to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has something called COBRA, COBR, the Cabinet Operations Briefing Room. I drafted a similar thing for the National Operations Center. But instead, he sits down in his luxurious presidential palace, in his armchair, like Alistair McCookie, summons the Commissioner of Police, asks what are her crime plans, and obviously she would have none because she's not tactically, strategically trained in the aspect of understanding law enforcement from an operational perspective. She'd be a good administrator, but that is who would have been imposed on us by an incompetent police service commission that appointed someone who didn't come in the top 20 in 2018, and you decided to put her first. So therein lies the problem. And all of the things that Keith Rowley is speaking about, he is not able to grasp, to understand the importance of technology policies, programs that worked. That is what happened just 2 years ago. The product of opportunity was no longer there. The criminal elements had a fear because they were afraid of this. A few moments later, we had systems from online reporting, the app reporting, the 482 Gary. Citizens were bringing information to the police. Keith Rowley has the audacity to ask the citizens to bring it to help. But all the things that we put in place, it has been shut down. The 482 Gary, the online reporting, the police app, all of these things, the undercover police officers, that was already in place, Fitzgerald Hines. You're behind the eight ball. I was liaising with the DPP 3 years ago to have covert operatives. In New York City, they have 35,000 police officers. About 3,000 have never. The other police officers do not know them. They drive taxis. They sell hot dogs. They are vagrants. That is all. It's just Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We've never done it. So I liaised with the TPP on that. We had covert operatives. It was working. All of these things you've shut down. You've dismantled it. You've removed it. And now, when it is that the country is under siege, your one comment is to say, well, we need public support, as if to believe that if it is that is the blame of the public's fault for not coming forward to give information to assist in reducing crime.
And you're right again, because the Prime Minister made it quite clear. He said the state was continuously engaged in detecting and managing millions of rounds of ammunition and the thousands of firearms which are circulating within the country. However, he says, the state cannot do it. The state could not do everything on its own. And who's asking the state to do everything on its own? I mean, we were waiting for the anti-crime talks. We were waiting to hear what the opposition was going to, to add to those talks. We were waiting for public consultation. We were told that, they're going to get all the information from the public. We've been waiting for quite some time. Who definitely is believing that we believe that the state is going to do it alone? We want to participate because we want to save our country. And on top of that, we want to save our lives at the same time. So how is this being done alone?
Exactly. So Keith Rowley is the ultimate hypocrite, because Kamala Prasad-Bisesa and Gary Griffith, we both came forward. We offered to help. He said, no, to hell with you. We're not interested. After getting national pressure, you come with a cosmetic thing and then say, okay, well, I don't want to speak to Gary though. And then he said, well, okay, but I don't have to attend. Probably he's busy playing golf 4 days a week as per norm. So you have done everything to show you do not want support of arguably one half of the country. And now you come with a cosmetic release to state that we need the help of the country. Well, those persons who have the virtual leadership of the other half of the country, we offered. You have refused. You didn't see it as being anything of relevance. And then after, had to have the audacity to ask the public for support when the things that I put in place to allow the public to give that type of information, the people you appointed in the police service, they shut down and they dismantled all of the things. There was something that we did, Mikey, that was known as predictive policing. Through the Special Operation Response Team and other units, we were able to intercept in so many vehicles on their way to kill people because of we had things such as the social media monitoring unit, we had the covert operatives, we had Special Operation Response Team. We were doing intelligence-led policing, where it is that operations were being intelligence-driven. All of these things you shut down, you dismantle. We had the Emergency Response Patrol that had 100 vehicles plastered around the country that was ensuring, when we looked at the data, on most of the 999 calls, you had less than a 5-minute response. Now you call 999, they will put you on hold, or you'll get an answering machine for 45 minutes. Someone will kill someone in cold blood by Residence nightclub, which is 1 minute from the commissioner's residence, 3 minutes from the St. James police station, 5 minutes from the St. Clair police station, 5 minutes from the Woodbrook police station, and the officers wouldn't show up till about 30 minutes after. No fault of the officers, but because you shut down and dismantled the commissioner's command center, the operational command center, the GPS tracking on all of these emergency response patrol vehicles, the shutting down of the emergency response patrol, all of these things, you remove the online reporting, the app reporting, the 482 Gary, you shut down, you remove everything that caused public trust and confidence in the police to move from 14% in 2018 to 59% in 2021. A year later, it goes down to 8%. And the public trust and confidence, it's the same police officers that are there. What has been changed is you shutting down and removing everything, not causing the public to feel comfortable to give information, and now you're sharing crocodile tears, asking the public for support.
Yeah, and added to the fact that he said that an illegal gun in the hands of a citizen is not security to anyone. It is simply a clear and present threat to the lives of all citizens. since any such weapon can only be used in committing a crime, and frequent use of such weapons only help to add to the suffering. Then, what is a legal licensed firearm in the arm of a citizen? Is that not a fighting chance? I mean, you talk about illegal guns, but what about giving people a fighting chance?
Let me tell you, Mikey, and to Trinidad and Tobago, let me clarify it now. It's a new year. So the race has started. We're heading towards the finishing line because there's a general election next year. We can now state it is good to make that comment. Keith Rowley is the ultimate hypocrite. The man has spent all of his time and is concerned dealing with legal firearms. He tried with all of these lies to give the impression there was massive corruption. You bring this jokey joker, Stanley John, said a massive, well-oiled criminal industry. 2.5 years later, not one senior police officer, not one firearm dealer has been arrested for any type of corruption, full of lies. But that is what happened. Then he had an audit, hire civilians, pay them big money, let them type a lot of lies, and then he wanted to go into parliament, where's the one place you can lie and not be sued, in the hope that you can spare the name of political opponents, similar to what he did with Emailgate in parliament. This is what he has spent all his time doing, trying to put this smear campaign, and by using that, who was affected? It would have been the law-abiding citizens, because all that I was doing, I was too effective at my job in ensuring that as many law-abiding citizens as possible had the right to defend themselves because of the state's inability to defend them. Anybody who is a PNM, and you can say that I have a problem with Gary Griffith giving out firearms to law-abiding citizens, then you're no different to the criminals themselves. It means that you are so blinded by politics to blindly defend a hypocrite like Keith Rowley, who has a problem with law-abiding citizens getting firearms. Because in the 3 years I was there as commissioner, not one of these 4,000 firearms issued would have been lost, stolen, or used for a crime. We had a systematic approach to ensure, even at this situation now with domestic violence, if there was a report of domestic violence, immediately that weapon would have been seized. We had standard operational procedures. And if the person was a member of the defense force, we will write to the chief of defense staff to ensure that that person cannot be issued a firearm. Those were the systems we put in place. You want to shut it down. You do not want law-abiding citizens to get firearms, yet 99% of all murders committed by firearms over the last 5 years have been by illegal firearms, which he has said and done nothing to put an end to.
Yeah, and it brings us right back to, right back to the drawing board, right back to the starting line. And you have all this talk about optimism and all this shallow and empty rhetoric about a safer Trinidad and Tobago 2024. But we were here before. This is the second day of the year of 2024, and we again have more murders than days of the year already. We've been here before. We've had a lot of talk. Now, of course, a 5% decrease. People are patting themselves on the back. They're putting out their chests as a badge. But the underlining of that is we have to listen to the words of the Commissioner of Police. She says that criminals have become more brazen, showing no regard for public safety and sanctity of life, even those of our young children. Then why are we still using techniques that are outdated? Why are we still compromising with criminals? Why are we still trying to have this conversation where we are trying and hopefully we'll get it right? There comes a time when you have to say, listen, the techniques need to change, the methods need to change, and whether it's Gary Griffith saying it, whether it's Kamala Prasad saying it, whether it's just Joe Public saying it, there has to be some information that must be regarded as important enough to implement many of these things to save the lives of the citizenry. We've been here before, Gary. Every year we start off like this. And we hear the same rhetoric over and over. We're trying. We're going to try to get it right. We're implementing this. We have new vehicles. We have more training. We have more technology. We have more of everything. But the more that is given is the more lives that we lose on a daily basis. So we're seeing it happening all again.
And the sad thing is, you have a Minister of National Security has the audacity. I think he actually believes his nonsense. The man says that the Ministry of National Security have gone to the gym. They have bigger thighs and more muscle.
Yeah.
I have never heard such stupidity in my life. Never before has public trust and confidence been so low in the law enforcement agencies. And no fault to these officers. These were the same officers who put their lives on the line during COVID. 30 officers lost their lives. Not one officer shirked their responsibility. These were the same officers that there was was a 59% public trust and confidence, from being the lowest in any arm of the public service to being the highest. So let's not blame the officers. But what we have seen on a continuous basis is Keith Rowley, these systems were there. Let's look at Arapita Avenue. When, as Commissioner of Police, because of that emergency response patrol, the reports I got of complaints by persons, too many blue lights, too many sirens, people can't line by Frankie's or by wherever, because every time they take a beer, a blue light is coming every 3 minutes. We had a system because in the Western Division, for example, as I said, we had 100 emergency response patrol vehicles, 9, 10 odd divisions, that's 10 vehicles per division. So you have 3 in St. James, 3 in Diego Martin, 3 in Caranage, 1 in Cocorita and Petit Valley. It means that in that St. James and Woodbrook area, you have 3 vehicles patrolling constantly. It means that for every 5 minutes along Arapita Avenue, a blue light will be passing. What did that do? There was never an incident on Arapita Avenue under Gary Griffith's watch, as I could recall. Never one. As soon as I left, you shut down the emergency response patrol, no blue lights, no sirens. The criminals know that if you call 999, you're going to be put on hold. It means that they know they could shoot someone in cold blood on Arapita Avenue and stroll away. They don't even need to run because there's not going to be a response. People in home invasions, as soon as you jump the wall, you know as soon as you jump over, you're a few moments later. That was not by chance. We had a comprehensive system of an operational command center watching the 999 calls and looking at the vehicles in closest proximity within your area of responsibility, that AOR, to make sure that we can intercept. That is what caused and put fear in criminals. The product of opportunity was no longer there. Kamala Prasad Biswas and I are trying to explain to this man, you have people who do not have a clue. They are not trained, they are not qualified, they are not experienced. We are willing to help because the country cannot wait another 14, 15 months until the government changes. By that time, we will be similar to El Salvador or so. We are here willing to help you. And your audacity, your arrogance, your high-handedness, you prefer to see the country drown in blood than to swallow your pride, know you made a mistake and say, listen, let me take your advice. Anybody who's a PNM till it dead, understand what you are saying. You are saying basically, I'm still voting for PNM, even though it increases the risk of my wife being killed, my daughter being kidnapped, or my son being killed. Can you really sleep good at night as a PNM supporter, knowing fully well that the systems that are being put in place are doing nothing to enhance the security of your loved ones?
Yeah. And to make a statement that, from the Commissioner of Police, we believe that every firearm seized translates to multiple lives being saved. What about every licensed firearm that is being denied for law abiding citizens? What does that translate to?
Exactly, hit the nail on the head, and which is what I was doing. 4,000 persons received firearms under my watch. Half of them were for police officers, fire officers, prison officers, soldiers, sailors, members of the protective services, past or present, whose lives were on the line and they were put at risk because they were targeted for serving their country. And you have a problem with that. There were over 50,000 applicants. It was 0.05% of the population that received firearms, and you turn that into a big issue. And there are people who had an issue with Gary Griffith trying to ensure law-abiding citizens had a fighting chance. They had an opportunity. And it is not just firearms, Mikey. If you recall, Nicole Dyer Griffith, for several years, she kept pushing to give women a fighting chance just for pepper spray. Not even pepper spray. It seems that there's a deliberate attempt by this government, whether it is based on arrogance, incompetence, or aiding and abetting in supporting the criminal elements, that they have gone out of their way when it is involved in interfering with the merit list for selection of Commissioner of Police, trying to select someone who placed 22nd as Commissioner of Police, handpicking members of the Police Service Commission with no qualification or experience in national security, not refusing and shutting down and dismantling things that worked. This can't be incompetence. Is it that there are certain persons in strategic positions who benefit by what is happening in this country?
And I think that's a very key question, Mr. Griffith. We watched, we've been here before. It really makes you wonder. I want to thank you so much for taking time out and linking with us here this evening. Again, all the best for 2024. Good luck to you and your entire team. But the way we started off, it seems as though we've become immune to this as a society, as a nation, what's taking place. It's very unfortunate.
Definitely agree.
Thanks
All
a
the
lot.
best.
Appreciate it. Thank you.